Nope, still static feedback. And it hurts. I'm gonna mute you for just a second. Okay. Whew. Oh, and then, let's see here. Yep, nope. If you're plugging your mic in, Pen, it's still pretty bad. So whatever you got to do to fix it. Sometimes it would have been nice to fluff up the realm numbers. Yeah, I mean that's the one positive thing about it, but you know, I think the problem is inherent in the fact that one person is, you know, so strong or is able to do so many things on their own. It's, you know, basically playing by themselves, and you know, maybe to some people that's I don't know. It's a different play style. I don't think it's totally illegal personally, but you know, I want to make sure that everybody's happy with how accounts work. You know, pretty much. Hope so, Momo. Oh yeah, and also guys, we have, if you scroll over each message in the client, you'll see little pop-ups here. You can do GG. It's kind of like a like. So you can have fun with that. Okay, and fair warning, if you're in the channel while I'm streaming, I would highly recommend you mute the stream. And that way you can hear me live, and that's it.
Muted!
Pen, that's a good question. I think Curse automatically does the voice recognition, so it should just open when you talk, pretty much. That's funny. I was activating your mic with my voice. That's pretty powerful right there. Anyway, so we have Devilich and Daleth on the line here, so what are your guys' thoughts on multi-boxing?
Earth to Daleth! I guess he's dead, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So multi-boxing. I don't really have a problem with it. I guess the only issue I have is just people using it for CCing. You know, if they have a little alt in another realm that they're just, you know, using to spy on realm activities like invasions and things like that. That's the only thing I think I have an issue with.
Right. Do you think that NPCs should be around to kind of act like a low-level player if there's nobody online?
Do you mean like for the like buffing, or a little bit more complex than that?
Well, I mean, it could be either way, but that's the idea, is to have like a buff bot you know, maybe, or a character that for a donation of silver will give you a buff or two, or all, the important ones. Or, you could go as far as, and this is really going out there, but like hiring a mercenary.
That's not going far up, but that's pretty cool. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, but I'll tell you my opinion on multi-boxing real quick. I don't have a problem with it if it's only for how do you say, the very direct features that the class gives, like enchanting, fixing gear, and on the buffs. Like if it was just that, I don't think I'd have too much of a problem with it, because I don't really see that hurting the game too up. But what I think that would really suck is if people use it to follow the other person and either would heal them, giving them a really, really unfair advantage in combat, especially in PvP, or even worse, have it follow them, and then whenever they like attack another player, their bot attacks as well. So I think that would be pretty much the essence of like what you would not want to see at all. I think that would actually harm the game.
Yeah, I think aside from jailing players and just kind of playing police, that's pretty much the only control that's apparent at first. Other than account limitations. I know you guys might be a little what's the word? Maybe just a little bit biased, but since you're working on the project, but do you think that? And for those of you watching, do you guys think that having a limitation to accounts or per IP address, do you think that's something that we should really try to do, or is there a benefit to it? What is your opinions on that?
There's an obvious benefit to it in that it makes things more fair, but the biggest downside is you really can't do it for the IP address, because if you do that, you're going to be blocking legitimate people who play together in the same household. So there's no way for you to do it that way. What you could do, and this would again help a little bit, it's not going to stop the most determined, but it would stop the majority of it, at least for most people, is limit it to one client per computer. So if you really wanted to stop multi-boxing, that would be the only way to get close to doing it. It's not going to solve virtual machines. It's not going to solve the most determined, but that would be the closest I could imagine getting to a point where it seems to be the most fair for everybody. What do you think, Daly?
Well, that's difficult to do too, but I think that you could watch IP addresses and have it flag them. Not something that's automatic, like it just bans them or warns them, but it could flag them to a staff member, an admin, to just kind of keep an eye. I mean, if they have like a level 1 or 5 or whatever in another realm that just hops on and doesn't really do anything, and then hops off at times before invasions or something like that, then that would stick out really clearly. So it could be something that just could be monitored, whereas it's not necessarily just you just blanket ban anybody that uses the same IP for different realms, or even prevent that, because I mean you are going to have people in the same family or household that are playing on both sides.
Very true. Very true.
I think that's the best idea. I really do, because that way you're not disrupting anybody's gameplay. You're just letting staffers know there could be a problem here. Keep an eye on it, and I think that would probably be the ultimate solution to it. It's not a automatic solution, which we like those, but I think it is probably the best solution to deal with that.
Right. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Would make it easier to keep track of that. Okay, so moving on to the next kind of topic we had discussed a little bit the other day. We talked about it with Vasi. We talked about it with quite a few, if not all of our guests, and that is inter-realm combat, being able to fight your own realm mates. I'll throw up a poll here just for fun, but that's the question. What do you guys think first? What do you like the idea of having like a Darkness Falls, the original feel to a team game in each of the 3 realms?
Well, I'll go first on this one. You know my opinion on it pretty much. I loved, and also at the same time hated the realm combat in Darkness Falls. It was amazing because anytime you logged on, you could very well be killed within a minute by an imp, and you would never see it coming. But likewise, if you had a problem with a player that they just either annoyed the hell out of you or they did something that was really offensive, you would actually be able to answer it in realm without having to worry about getting your friends and chaos are good to deal with it. And in that way, I'm really pro for it. There could be a solution in between, though. We talked about this a little bit. You can have entire areas dedicated to inter-realm combat. Make it like a mini version of FFA Cade, Free for All Cade. That would probably work. And you had a good idea when it comes to if the idols get locked for whatever reason, maybe turn on inter-realm combat period just to make things super exciting for that time. So there's a lot of ways you can do that.
How about you, Delith? What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with that for the most part. I think that, I do think that there's some in between there. I like the idea of arenas, but it would be nice to have a whole area or a zone that you could go and Cade or something that would be kind of free for all. It would at least be a nice experience. If people didn't like it, they wouldn't go there, and you wouldn't make the whole game kind of unplayable for people who wouldn't want to be just, maybe they're not very popular with their realm or something.
Yeah, I can see, that it could raise some problems with things like friendly fire during an invasion, or so that way it's like it's not always maybe it's not always on, or you're not always able to. But I mean, you guys that have played Darkness Falls speak very highly of that game and how it was basically almost the entire experience of playing the game, which was kind of managing the groups and the guilds and the memories that come with that. So I just wonder, if it was just free for all the time, that would be a very different experience than what we had at DFC. But is that something that would be the best experience? So I think ultimately,
yeah, ego. That's what we need.
Ultimately, yeah. I mean, for me, it's kind of you extrapolate a little bit and see what the consequences are of that, and you say, well, it's a true PvP kind of world, and you have you can pick and choose when to physically quote unquote take care of business, and you can always have that ability, and so I think that would be pretty interesting. But at the same token, it's a team game, and if it would create a whole bunch of new scenarios that I think that are kind of brand new to us, sabotaging your own team kind of thing.
And that's why I really wouldn't recommend making the entire area inter-realm combat, not just because of the issue you brought up where you would inadvertently eventually kill your own teammates while trying to attack someone else because people are not going to type the full name. It's just not going to happen. And you would be killing your teammates all the time. So I think the best way to make that fun, interesting, and satisfying is to dedicate not just arenas, like what Ego said, but at least a couple of entire areas that the risk versus reward is so good, or at least better than normal, that it's worth going into these zones and potentially risk losing to your own realm mates.
Yeah. It looks like there's kind of a middle ground. So maybe there's we'll kind of fine tune some ideas for when it's completely okay and everybody's okay with it. But I'm sure that there's quite a few of us that just players in general that probably don't appreciate that kind of interaction at all. So it could be a turn off for sure.
Yeah.